Welcome back, everyone, to the WCS Premier League Season 3. We're in the middle of Group C of the round of 32, where 2 German players entered. One has been eliminated, but one is actually in a really good spot so far, having an advantage, winning his first match, and now ready to face the Titan that is Jaedong in the winner's match of this group. Should be an exciting match, gentlemen. What are we looking at here, though? Because earlier, I mean, we were trying to say, all right, Sen, he looks great, he's a veteran, but still ShoWTimE beat him. What does that say?
ShoWTimE's got to be feeling great. Like, he's in a position where, sure, if he wins, it's an upset. Everyone talks about how awesome he is. Great day for ShoWTimE. If he loses, he's got a rematch against the guy he already beat, tighten up a few things here and there, and I think he's still going to be feeling really good going into a potential rematch.
Yeah, Rotterdam, what is your take here?
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. The only thing is that PvZ has always been kind of a matchup where you don't really want to give Zerg too much information about your playstyle. And if he plays 3 PvZ series in one day, I think in particular the third series of the day is going to be quite tricky. And I think Zergs can maybe expose 1 or 2 things from his playstyle. And overall, like, it looked good what he showed early today. Like, I was impressed with his control, and I think his strategy was one of the most standard strategies out there. So it all looked very solid. But if you go over his results against Zerg over the past few months, he lost against Eleza, lost against Guru, lost 0-3 against Firecake. So I'm not sure how big of a fan he is of this matchup. So maybe he's not feeling all that comfortable.
Oh, that's a good point to bring up. I mean, that's some of the angles that you don't always get to see when you're just going into tournament. But when you look at the history, and again, you have those matchups that you have to think about when it comes to StarCraft. It is a new angle. Now, something else interesting, though, just to maybe get everyone excited or not excited, depending on your take, is that we haven't had a mirror match yet so far in the round of 32.
Yeah, I'm keeping tabs.
If Jaedong loses here, it's going to be a ZVZ for the first time in the round of 32.
I mean, just looking at the setup for this match, I don't think we're going to end up seeing a mirror match, but it would be interesting. I mean, we're guaranteed it tomorrow, right? We're going to have mirrors
Yes.
at some point. With 3 Terrans in one group to finish up our Burbank broadcast, I'd be really surprised if we somehow didn't have a mirror match.
It's impossible.
Well, yes, Roddy.
That's kind of what I was going for.
Now, always the voice of reason here, then, as we can always kind of Rotterdam. But let's talk about that. I mean, you were mentioning, all right, well, most likely we're not going to see it today, just given how Jaedong is. And again, I mean, it seems like sometimes we're a broken record for the past 2 years because everyone's like, Jaedong, what a legend, but is he still there in form? Today, so far, he looks to be on point.
Absolutely, he looked very good, especially in game number 2 because he was behind in that game. He turned it around, but ZVP is a very, very different matchup than ZVT. ZVT, you can make the difference with your mechanics, with your, just micro being fast and kind of outsmarting the opponent. ZVP is very different. It's a lot more tactical. It's, I think, a little less about mechanics, and you require to use different units. Like, I'm not sure how comfortable is Jaedong if he ends up in an army with, let's say Roaches, Hydras, Vipers, and Infestors and Ultralisk. That requires a completely different skill than being fast with Ling, Mudas, and Banelings. It's almost a different game,
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you talk about those compositions like that, yeah, it sounds different to begin with, and when you see it in game, it is going to feel different, because visually, the way the Zerg is going to have to move around his enemy is going to be a very different idea.
Yeah, it comes a lot down to how, of course, ShoWTimE wants to play this. As you mentioned earlier in PvZ, the strategy is substantially bigger. In Terran versus Zerg, it's like, okay, well, we both know what we're going to generally go for. Who's going to be able to make more of them faster with less mistakes? In PvZ, you do want to get a little bit of that trickery there, outsmarting, outplaying, and, baiting your opponent when possible.
I really hope we're going to see some of those cool builds that ShoWTimE used in WCS Season 1 when he had that magnificent run, when he went all the way to the semifinals. I felt back then his PvZ looked very good. If you would have asked me back then who do you think is going to win if they play right now, since Jaedong hasn't really played for a couple months, I was definitely leaning towards ShoWTimE. But I feel today Jaedong looked very good, and I'm still not convinced about ShoWTimE's PvZ. So I think this is a very close series, in all honesty.
Yeah, I mean, in some cases, it looks like it's going to be ShoWTimE's chance. I almost said ShoWTimE's time to prove himself. But here we go, looking at the map selections. I mean, let's just take a look at the vetoes here. Iron Fortress being banned out by ShoWTimE.
Which is cool as well, because earlier today that map was actually a map that he played against Sen. He lost that map and he's like, why would I ever play Iron Fortress? There's a reason why there is a Zerg symbol in the middle of the map. I'm vetoing it this series,
Yeah, well, it looks like, he's going to take rid of that this time, and we're going to kick it off with Coda, and then Cactus Valley and Terraform as a third map if it comes down to that one. of course, I mean, we've broken down this map several times. No need to really hash that out anymore. But what about you, Rotterdam?
Now, I feel that ShoWTimE's build in this map is so solid, so standard, that I really wonder what Jaedong is going to do about it. Because the way that Sen tried to bust it, that's pretty much the quickest way it could ever hit and the hardest way, and he still hold. So I kind of feel that it's almost inevitable we're going to see a super late game here, a 4 base against 4 base scenario. And maybe in that scenario, I slightly favor ShoWTimE.
Well, it's going to be the winner's match of Group C between ShoWTimE and Jaedong, and bringing this to all of our fans at home and here in the studio, it will be Huck and In Control.
Both of these players have a glimmer of hope to make enough points in WCS and get to BlizzCon, but in order to do that, not only do they need to win here, they need to win in the round of 16 and probably the round of 8. It does start here, though. Jaedong, ShoWTimE, it's going to be a great Protoss versus Zerg. And of course, whenever great things happen, we launch the EG attack team. We've got Jaedong here, and we had to do the Huck In Control cast. Huck, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great. Great, and glad to see my man here.
That's right. We all are. Everyone's excited about this. This is going to be great. Talking about the players on Coda as our first map of this best of 3, the winner's final, if you will. The winner goes on and will be in Poland. It is the Protoss player from Germany, ShoWTimE. Getting closer. And his opponent looking good today. A lot of fans hoping this guy continues to look good. It is Evil Genius's Jaedong. Coming out of Korea. Of course, he did move to America for WCS.
He's been there a while, too.
Yep, he's committed.
Living in San Francisco, living that high life, off that EG money. He's doing a good job thus far, but he needs to do a little bit more in this match.
Yes. You know, Huck, that's absolutely true. Like, it's daunting, really, because of kind of missed opportunities. He was a little bit late to the WCS. I believe he missed the entire first season, which he might be kicking himself about. It's like, yeah, honestly, he needs 1,000 points out of this Season 3 to even have a chance. And then from there, he's got to go to some of these tournaments and do really well there as well. So it's a tall order for him.
Yeah, looking at the points, I mean, if I was him, I would be looking at top 4 for sure and hoping for first or second. I mean, even if he got first, it doesn't necessarily secure him a spot at BlizzCon. It would basically be him having to do well at those 2 other tournaments, which isn't an easy task to do, especially with how many good Koreans come over for every single event.
Yeah, StarCraft is, for us fans, in a really good spot. Every tournament is just chock full of top-tier competition. I mean, looking back, it was that MLG, 2011 or 12, when the Koreans finally came, or no, it's 2010,
The Exodus.
Actually. Anyways, whenever it happened, it was like, from then on, man, StarCraft was where it was supposed to be, which is one of the, if not the hardest game to be successful at. Build order-wise, we do have 3 hatcheries down, although that third one, of course, not before the spawning pool. So Jaedong opening up standard, but not... We're not seeing the Jaedong leverage yet. Like, he's a guy who will 9 pool. He's a guy who will do 3 hatch before pool, but he wants to kind of... I guess he wants to feel out ShoWTimE and see where he wants to take this to.
Yeah, both players showing a lot of respect here. ShoWTimE as well, doing the gateway, the core at the ramp. Standard Nexus timing, nothing too greedy, nothing too aggressive either. Scouting, just both respecting each other's play, playing super safe. And it's going to be weird to see whether ShoWTimE does the exact same builds that we saw in the previous matchup, because I'm assuming Jaedong did watch those games and he has a decent tell on just the style that ShoWTimE has shown.
Yeah, and you know, I want to ask your opinion on this, because a lot of times Jaedong looks at someone's playstyle, and outside of the early game stuff, he'll just be like, wow, Mitos look strong there. So against Blink Stalker, I mean, kind of the style we saw from ShoWTimE in that first series against Sen. What do you think Jaedong would key in on? Like, what would, if you were a Zerg and getting into the mindset a little bit, what would you want to try to attack?
I would say just super standard play. It seems like the games that ShoWTimE had against Sen were close enough where if I was Jaedong and I thought, okay, I'm a little bit better than Sen, then if I play the same style, I should be able to close it out.
And on the flip side, what do you think about ShoWTimE's playstyle? We've been seeing a lot from Protoss. I know you've been talking about it in particular, like the addition of Colossus and kind of going a little bit different tech paths, but he doesn't seem to be an Oracle guy. We didn't see any Dark Templar. It's Blink Stalker, Sentry, and then get up to Templar at 3 base. I mean, what do you think about his playstyle at PvZ?
I think if he did his proper homework on Jaedong, that he would maybe tend to go some more early aggressive builds. Something gateway-centric or even maybe fast DT, something like that. Jaedong's just such a risky player on both sides of that coin. He likes to open up, like you said, those early pulls, and on top of that, he'll play super greedy. There's a lot of timings that catch him just off guard. I've seen him lose to like 1 base 4 gates. I've seen him lose to Arium in Clan War matches where it was, 1 base Immortal drop, literally one base, and he just went in a more all-in and it beat Jaedong. So he's a great player, but if you can get him out of that comfort zone, then he's a player that kind of struggles, to be honest.
I do agree with that. I mean, we've seen a lot of matches. I mean, again, Jaedong plays in just about every single tournament, so when you talk about his playstyle, you have a lot to reference. I feel like when he does get thrown off, I have to agree with you. It's weird to see a player as good as him look as bad as he can in those situations. Like, he just is like, well, I do not know what to do with that composition, and he gets thrown for a loop, and some players can really abuse that. But ShoWTimE so far kind of showing that, nope, he's gonna grind this out and play it standard. Not a whole lot of hallucinations thus far, but he's just building up that sentry count. Although this third,
it's very early.
It's very early, and it looks safe. I mean,
yeah, it doesn't look like Jaedong's going to do anything aggressive.
He can't.
Usually you go, what, like 3 gateways into the third Nexus. It looks like he's doing it off just 1 gate in a Forge. He gets that cannon down. He's going to get a good scout off here. He's going to see not too much aggression. He saw the Lings in the middle of the map, but all in all, this looks very, very standard.
And there is that double Evo chamber. It's going to be melee upgrades. 1-1 for the Lings as of now. Jaedong, I don't think, has he seen actually that the third has been put down already? I mean, again, yes, he has. Okay, so there is nothing he can do about it right now. Speed's about to finish, and really with that kind of timing of a third, it's hard to be reactive to it. You almost have to be kind of proactive. Like, I already had 30 Zerglings in speed, and then it's like, oh, okay, you took a third. Well, now I'm going to crank out Roaches or Hydras right now. But for the most part, it looks like Jaedong's just going to take that fourth and go Hydra link.
Yeah, and he wants to put on a little pressure, I feel, breaking these rocks as early as it is. He's building 40 Zerglings right now. The Hydralisk Den is going to time really well as well. He's going to have maybe a good push when those upgrades finish. You know, the Hydra range, the 1-1, all of his production cycles coming in. It looks like ShoWTimE's going to probably have to recall here. This full surround's a very dangerous thing. He's burning a little bit of energy. He hasn't lost his sentry yet. Killed a good amount of Zerglings, and it's just energy at this point, but you never want to lose these sentries. They are so important going into the mid-game.
Just lose a sentry or 2 here. Recalls out.
Yeah, immediately recalls out. But
to be honest, he wanted that.
Yeah, losing a few sentries, that's tough right now. 24 Zerglings, they're all mineral-based. They have no range. It's not a scary thing, but all those sentries need to bank energies for this mid-game push.
It's true. I mean, if he had our vision, he probably would not do what he just did. In general senses, it's okay. He had no pylon out there, no probe. There was no intention to make that a prolonged attack. He was hoping to trigger an overreaction. Unfortunately for him, Jaedong is such an aggressive Zerg. I mean, we already have so many Hydras coming out here. The upgrades are about to finish up. It kind of, I mean, charge here, actually.
That is the interesting thing. And +1 armor, usually you go for those attack upgrades. So it's like Jaedong's on 1-1. Maybe it's because he scouted the double Evo. He thinks that it was mass speedlings, that, you know, that style that True likes to play, where it's mass Zerglings into the quick hive. I'm not quite sure, but it's actually Hydra. The question is, with charge lots against Roach or Hydra Zergling, it's either Protoss wins the fight really hard and the Hydras will never get away, or Zerg wins the matchup. Yeah, and it's literally just Hydras left over, like 15, 20 of them, and then you're just dying as Protoss.
And how those force fields become so important. Like, if you misplace those force fields and the Hydras get the benefit of being on the other side, like that right there, I mean, the Zerglings should pull back, because actually the Protoss just can't fight with those force fields that way. His charge lots are just null and void.
He can't move down. He can't come up with those Archons. He's committed to take this fight, and Jaedong has a great concave. As you can see, he's trying to move into the natural. The Archons are actually blocking it, and now he sees, actually, I have to just fight here. But it's so hard moving down into the third base with this great concave, this great flank already set up for Jaedong.
He's going to get one fight. Actually, force fields off the other, but in doing so, he's kind of sealed the fate of that third. The Mothership Core just didn't have the energy for a photon overcharge. So great damage is being done off screen, and even as such, actually Jaedong miscontrolling move controls over there. Only lost 4 probes so far. I think he's going for, actually, there's been some warp-ins.
Yeah, that's the big problem here.
That's death.
Yeah, it's just so hard. He barely wins the fight outside of the natural, but at the third base, he's just getting absolutely crushed. And it was a huge misread by ShoWTimE to think that it was the double evolution mass Zergling style.
And it's just so funny. I've been, you know, you and I, we've been casting for a while. You've just been absolutely casting everything for the last year, so we're going to give you the credit of like 15 years of casting. But we're always like, man, foreigners, you guys got to take these big risks against these monster players, and like, and so far they haven't. Yeah, well, here's the point. They haven't, but then in this game, he's like, double Evo Chamber, I'm going for it. Charge Lot Archon, and man, if he is going Massling style, trying to get the rate to Hive with Infestors or something, I will blow him up. But no, it's Hydra Link with 1-1 upgrades.
Yeah, and it's really rough. It's as a Protoss player, it's really hard to move down into this position. Jaedong does a great job of separating his forces. And then even here, half his army's in the third base, killing it. destroying probes left and right, and he's just trading out positively here. Even with that move command that we just saw,
Still gets the Archon.
it's
still
still
gets the
great,
sentries,
yeah, because there's only sentries and stalkers there. Meanwhile, the third base, he's constantly warping in units, losing them before they can even come to play, losing probes on top of that, and it's just slight misread, and all of a sudden, at this level, at this high of a level, that could be the game right there.
To be fair, though, like even with Blink, that's just a tough situation.
Yes.
We've seen ShoWTimE in particular come out ahead in that situation, but I feel like in part of that is Sen giving too much space, kind of coming in on the right side of that third base and
With everything.
And ShoWTimE with great force fields was able to take the more favorable fight. Here, Jaedong, and it's like so typical of his playstyle, he did not allow it. Like he just blasted right into the front of that. It was like, no, I'm getting this concave. I need this position, and then I will take on your third. And in being so assertive about that, ShoWTimE got bullied up that ramp. Charge or Blink, I don't care. He's not getting down there favorably.
Yeah, you really need to come from the third, then meet the army. Have one sentry in the natural, and then even the recall. You know, if he had Photon Overcharge there, maybe he holds the third base, doesn't have to warp in units. But we'll see going into the second game.
I've also, one quick note on that too. I like some Protoss do this as well, like on that third or even at the natural, whatever one they're not leveraging their army, they'll leave like 4 cannons. And 4 cannons by themselves will not defend that, but a couple of force fields, a Photon Overcharge, and all of a sudden you can actually just be like, oh no, my whole army's on top of that third, and I'm not giving up my natural that way. But there's options. It's tough. ShoWTimE here, as we see him, the German, down 0-1, needing to breathe life back into this match. But let's be honest too, it is the winner's match, and if he loses this, the guy he will face is the guy he had a good series with, but beat pretty handily. So he's in a nice position. And his opponent, of course, going up 1-0 and 3-0 on the group. It is Evil Genius's Jaedong, looking good, by the way. And you know, again, it's so funny. I get to commentate so many of his games, but every time I'm like, oh man, he looks good. People are like, oh, Jeff, you'd say that if he was covered in mud playing terribly. And it's like, I probably would. But he actually is looking good. I think he's playing well.
No, I think he's playing well. I mean, in the last game, there wasn't much to say. He just did everything you were supposed to do. Nothing really stood out, but there was no mistakes either. It's going to be up to ShoWTimE to, I don't know, mix it up a little bit. He obviously studied this map. What we just saw there with the probe was,
I like that.
If Jaedong was at the top right position, he would have saw the Overlord coming from that side to the left if he was scouting that way. So he does like a cheeky little scout with this probe, make sure that he wasn't in the top right, and then immediately goes to bottom left. And that's such a high-level player move. You will not see that on ladder, even in the lower leagues. It's just something that doesn't happen, and it's going to pay off for him. Immediately he's going to scout Jaedong when, you know, normally you just go to the top right, you go to the bottom right, and then you're scouting him last.
Now this is interesting. So we have a gateway behind this.
Is he going to fake the pylon again?
He might. The money's getting up close to 400 though, so it looks like it will be a Nexus behind that. And yeah, it is going to be. So no cheese out from ShoWTimE. Tell me about the gateway first, Huck. Like, what are you hoping to... I mean, I guess with this you get to skip Forge. I mean, what do you think about that opening?
It's just a normal... It's the most normal, I guess, macro play from Protoss. It's super safe. If they do go for some early Zerglings, you have the gateway, you can defend it. And then at the same time, a Forge, you just don't have options soon enough to put a threat on the Zerg. You want the Zerg to have to make units or have to adapt to your aggression. By having the Forge out, your tech's delayed, and the Zerg knows they can drone very heavily.
Yeah, and actually, to be honest, a good move for ShoWTimE to do against Jaedong. We've seen so many times. Best of 3, best of 5, winners match, losers match, eliminate, doesn't matter. Jaedong will take gambles, especially if he's ahead. So if there was ever a time for Jaedong to 9 or 10 pull or do something funky, it would be in this game. And it's, you know, kudos to ShoWTimE. It didn't end up catching anything too cheesy, but against Jaedong, you do want to play this way. So you can tell ShoWTimE has done his homework. A diligent German, this one.
Yes, very diligent indeed. And just speaking about that, Jaedong being the favorite in this group, it's a mental win, especially going into that first game. You know that you have all the options. You can do something crazy on this map, go into that third game, and most likely still beat ShoWTimE if he has that confidence. And I believe with a player like Jaedong, he does have that confidence, and hopefully ShoWTimE can just shake it off. You know, at the same time, as you said before, he has a secondary match to fall back on. He's already beat Sen, so he should be relatively relaxed going into this match as well.
Jaedong prolonging his his speed upgrade here for a second, and this is also kind of a cool adjustment to see from him. His Overlord just poked at the front of that natural, and it's getting intel, and it saw a gateway blocked off by a Zealot, so it saw no real reason for speed this instant, so he's putting it off. And look, he's just now starting to mine his gas again. I point this out because this is the cool little stuff that makes the difference. Like, so many times, even myself, like I watch these fantastic Protoss and I'm like, all right, here's the difference. Here's the changes I'll do to my builds and I'll go home and do it. But the little things like this, man, they add up so much. Because he skipped that speed upgrade right now, which again, would do nothing for him.
Yes.
He squeezes out an extra 2, 3, 4 drones before the speed upgrade, which then becomes more relevant as the game develops.
Yes. Everything about these two players is amazing thus far. The probe scout even, you know, it's just such a small thing, but it actually helps a ton. And it looks like we're going to actually go into a relatively normal macro game again. Seems ShoWTimE isn't shaken from that first game. Obviously, a little slight misread on, you know, what the unit composition Jaedong was going for, but you know, it's a tough loss, but at the same time, it's just like, oh, well, that happened, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I committed to that, and it wasn't that. So if it was, I was going to be in great position, but because it was Hydralisk, I just kind of lost that game. And, you know, it's not a big mistake. There was no huge micro mistake or mechanical mistake. It was just, you know, that's going to happen in StarCraft 2 sometimes.
I tend to super agree. I think if you were to be critical, and the mistake we would kind of glean from his play is more in the planning stage of being very defensive with your, like, the only push out was a half-hearted 8th century and a mothership core, and in doing so he actually traded out, as you pointed out in the game, lings for sentries and force fields, which was favorable to Jaedong. But there's no real harass stage to ShoWTimE's build so far. Looks like it's going to be a little bit different here. We got a lot of gateways going down before the third, but to finish my point, Jaedong unchallenged and comfortable, as you talked about in the pregame analysis, is a different kind of Jaedong. It's really scary. So taking a third on Coda, very difficult, especially with comfortable Jaedong. Now, here we are here in Cactus Valley. No pressure. He's just going to go into Hydralisk, and it's going to, once again, I think, be about that third. And there it is for ShoWTimE. He even takes the one closer to the Zerg. I mean, that's bold play cotton.
Yes,
yeah.
dangerous.
Yeah.
It's like, if you win a battle, you're going to be that much closer to pushing into your opponent, but at the same time, your opponent, if they do try to hit a timing, it's going to be that much sooner, and it's going to be a lot harder for ShoWTimE to hold, and it feels like Jaedong's going to go for the same build he went for last game. It's going to be Zerglings into Hydras, and he's going to go for some committed push.
No upgrades, though, Chris. It's even faster.
It's even faster. Well, it's going to be a hard hold. Let's say that, for sure, especially with that Nexus at that position.
And a Robo behind this for ShoWTimE as well. He's faking the War Prism. Let's
that
see
would
if
actually, if Jaedong pulls back, that'd be great for ShoWTimE, but it doesn't look like he will.
No, somehow he knows.
Maybe he's just going to rally his units coming out of that hatchery. He does have 10 Hydralisk on the way. There was a War Prism that came in. It wouldn't do too much, even if it had 4 sentries and it did block that ramp. But so far, the Sim City looks good. If ShoWTimE can hold here, he'll be in great position. He gets a great scout off. He sees that Hydralisk are pumping. He already sees there's a good amount of Zerglings, so he should know what's happening. He's not building probes. He is committed to this defense. It's just a question of, can he do it?
It's going to be tough. Jaedong even skipped the Hydra upgrade, which could be a mistake or could be just him saying, I actually just want as many as possible. Gotta be careful. He knows that if he misplaces those force fields, it ends up being a disaster for him. Jaedong's actually going towards the front, which is interesting. I think he might back off from here because that's easily the more narrow space for ShoWTimE to defend.
We saw Hydra do this yesterday. He took the engagement with his Hydras at the front, let the Protoss chew off 2 or 3 Hydras, and then flanked with the Zerglings and did a good amount of damage. ShoWTimE being a little bit smarter here. He's wasting a lot of energy to buy time, but if he can delay this enough, he should be in good position.
I mean, he's used up a lot of force fields. He has to be careful. There's the Photon Overcharge as well. So many force fields going down, and he's not grabbing any units. Most of his army is still sentries, but the Stalker count getting higher means that he is approaching the position where he actually could grab a chunk of Hydras and actually go for a fight. Here come the Zerglings, and they're a little bit committed to that right flank. But they have to disengage because, again, there's no support from the Hydras, which are continuously being force fielded off here. Yeah,
he's expending a good amount of energy. 3 force fields
every
few seconds.
He's still got several more, though.
Yeah, he has enough sentries where he should be able to keep doing this. It looks like some Hydras are going to squeak in, and this is the critical moment. Will he take sentry losses? Actually, there's a spot on the bottom right. Yeah, and they're squeezing in. Can he hold off? The Hydra's doing a good amount of damage, and these Zerglings taking so much. The supplies are evening out, but it looks like Jaedong's getting a little bit of room. These Warped-In Zealots are actually going to do a great job at tanking, though. It looks like ShoWTimE's going to hold. He trades out a good amount of sentries, but a hold to hold.
And Jaedong behind this, by the way, starts up the Hydralisk upgrade and +1 melee. It's like the anti-timing on both those things, they're not going to help here at all. We do see Pathogen Gland, so that's where his tech switch is going to go. But to be honest, no 4th base. The creep, not really that well spread. Jaedong leveraged a lot in that attack, and while he killed a lot of sentries, he is behind in supply. It's an established
PvZ.
third for ShoWTimE, and ShoWTimE's got to be feeling good.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know in this position just because he lost so many sentries, so he's not going to be able to scout. So he doesn't know exactly where he is. It's off of feel, and ShoWTimE has great feel. He showed that against Sen, and if he can do that again, if he knows where he's at, and he, you know, if he knows what we know right now, he's clapping. He's saying this game's in the bag. But the question is, does he? He's going for that same composition.
Charge.
He's getting charge. He's getting +2. He's pumping out Immortals. There's not even a Roach being seen all game. There's no indication that Jaedong's going into them. He's actually going for Infestors. All in all, though, the composition's not bad.
It's not bad, Chris, but the concern is it's weird. Jaedong's being, again, kind of a weird, like, you know, they have that star sense, those ungodly good players like Jaedong. He's still making Hydras while going Ling Infestor. In normal situations, you would just go Ling Infestor and you would save your gas for a huge Ultralisk push later in the game, which is exactly what ShoWTimE's preparing for. But with all these Hydras and still just the 5 sentries, I grow a little bit concerned. A couple of Fungals holding all those Zealots in place, they will evaporate against those Hydras.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the micro, but then again, he's got high Templars, which is going to be great against Zerglings, Hydras, and even the Infestors with feedbacks.
And that gels really nicely with Army Comp too, because by going charge, you're saving up a lot of gas. So he just got a whiff right there. He sees that it is still Hydralisk, Ling, and Infestor, of course. And, you know, I'll be curious, because ShoWTimE against Sen, he would see things like, hey, I'm way ahead, but then would not attack. He would defend and defend. And that can also be good against Jaedong, by the way. He will throw himself against you over and over again.
Yeah, as of right now, supply-wise, it's evening up a little bit. But all in all, PvZ, you're on even supply. That's a good thing for Protoss.
Yes.
This composition, I would much prefer. You know, if that wasn't so many Zealots and there was 40 Blink Stalkers with a bunch of High Templars, I'd feel a lot more comfortable for ShoWTimE.
Yeah.
Going into, you know, Fungal, going into Hydralisk, going up even against Zerglings, because this is an army that I feel like is going to either do really well
or melt.
or melt.
Yeah.
And when you're in the lead, you want to bet on safe money, and that's not what ShoWTimE is doing here with these charge slots, because a couple Fungals come down, he grabs, you know, 15, 20 Zealots, they're going to act as natural force fields, hurting his own Protoss army.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to get those High Templars or those force fields or those Stalkers or those Immortals up. So we're going to see, it's going to come down to this engagement, and it's either going to be big win or big loss.
It's going to come down to this. ShoWTimE has put himself in a nice position. A couple of Fungals go down, but again, by themselves, not that big of a deal. Templar looking for feedbacks.
And now they're just going to zone out these units in great storms.
He's trying to buy time. He wants these Spine Crawlers to come up is what it is.
Yeah,
but you know what? Look, he just goes to the 4th. Yeah, he's like, that's fine. Defend there.
Exactly, and look at these Zealots. Yeah, sure, the Fungals, great Fungals, but look at the damage. Yeah, they actually don't do much. If he has time to recharge those shields, there's no actual hull damage on those units, and this Warp Prism is going to act as a great buffer, having those direct warp ins. If you look at the army supply, 195 to 190, but at the same time, that Warp Prism, those automatic warp bins, could be 220, and the engagement's going to go down. Great Fungal. Storms are good. Hydralisk are being melted. These charge lots are doing so much damage. If you can get those High Templars up, another move command from Jaedong.
Yeah, a little bit of miscontrol there, and a lot of Zealots coming in behind this. No feedbacks yet from the Templar. They do get fungled and will die here. And in fact, a lot of respect coming out from ShoWTimE. He's very afraid of losing this army. I can't blame him. Losing Zealots is one thing, but if he lost all those sentries, that's really... I mean, look at Jaedong's army. Yeah,
there's nothing there. If he pushes right now,
gotta go.
He will crush that army. He has the Warp Prism, just reinforce and push. Please. Please,
He's
ShoWTimE.
waiting.
He's waiting. He's so patient. But it is the wrong call. But it's so scary because you never know what's right behind those Infestors, what's right behind those Zerglings. He's going to go for the safe move. He's going to do a Zealot run by. He's going to use this Warp Prism to harass the main base, hopefully. But if he pushed there, it was game for sure.
He's playing it so safe, and it's weird to play it so safe and to later look back and be like, you know what, actually, if I would have...
He had literally had like 4 Hydras.
And, well, in Infestors, but yeah. They weren't going to do anything.
Yes. Those are the scary factors.
Yeah.
Because if you push in, he didn't have his mothership core. There's no evacuation plan. If you get committed there, you're just going to lose everything.
There's a couple of weird army controls from Jaedong earlier as well. A couple of move commands we saw. In Game 1, it didn't matter. He ended up winning anyways. Game 2, it's not like he threw that fight because of it. You know, keep your eye on that. That's the mark of a guy that's been traveling a bunch and is having a tough time calming himself. ShoWTimE backs up. Perhaps had Jaedong dead to rights, but in doing so, he established a 4th base and is now coming down the left perimeter while harassing.
Yeah, but now this is the scary part for ShoWTimE. I feel like he needs to do another committed push because although he's ahead right now, 165 supplied to 152, Jaedong has a great composition with these 5 Brood Lords finishing up. There is not a Stargate yet done for ShoWTimE. He's getting one now, but all in all, this army is so weak. There's barely anything that can actually kill these Brood Lords.
Yeah. He's got a lot of Templar and some... Blink is about to finish up, as you said, so he's not... it's not like all of a sudden this game is completely over for him. Jaedong's got to be a little bit defensive too, because he's only on 4 bases, and I feel like if he just goes for the push now, ShoWTimE gladly wrecks the 4th, goes into the 3rd, and then Jaedong is not reinforcing and probably dead to like a single Void Ray kind of situation.
And his armies are... His bases are so split apart. You know, Cactus Valley is a huge map. I would love to see ShoWTimE clean up this creep and just kind of pace back and forth until he finds a hole, you know? Because if these Broodlords are never in position, that's a base dead. He's got enough Immortals, enough Stalkers, enough flexibility that his army can constantly move around and pick off, you know, easy kills.
An Oracle coming out of that Stargate, by the way. I guess it's... Yeah, he's using that in the midst of it and building more. So he knows it's going to be Broodlords. We must have missed... there's some scouting done on one level or another. Zealots getting trimmed off. They're not going to be a part of the final battle. Zealots are made to harass, so that's why you're seeing them kind of die right and left. Don't worry, it's by design. And ShoWTimE's content with the 4 bases, but he has the whole top end. Oh, that was excessive.
Excessive, yeah. He wanted to save that Stalker. And
really did.
ShoWTimE's playing beautifully. The only error is that if he had that killer instinct, he could have finished the game.
Yeah.
And, you know, as a player, you never want to go back into a replay or a VOD and look back and say, like, actually, if I just A-moved there, I would have won the game. So, you know, he's in great position. He's doing everything he's supposed to be doing, but at the same time, there's the possibility of what if.
Yeah. I agree, especially if he ends up losing this game. Then I absolutely agree with you.
Oh, this is dangerous. He's going to get a good chunk of this army, actually, and look at the 3 High Templars, 2 Sentries, an Immortal.
Oh, jeez.
And he loses that 4th base.
Why is he building Immortals anyways? Actually, losing Immortals to be fun. Well, he doesn't have any money, though. I mean, that's the danger here. But that 4th got crushed. All of a sudden, he's on 3 bases. Jaedong up a base. And he did get some guys there at the back of that, too. Kind of trying to get up to 12 o'clock. And Jaedong he's clawing his way back in. He's still down in supply and only on Alto's Cavern as well.
Yeah, he's thinking about what his options are. Jaedong's been sitting on a good amount of money. He was just at 2K 800 gas, and now we just see him dump 9 more Corruptors, 10 more Corruptors. He's committing to this Broodlord. He did scout the Tempest, so...
Good scout there.
I guess he's thinking, you know what? Yeah, there's not enough Tempest there. I can actually just break through and win with my Broodlord army.
You know, he could say that. I'd like him to take a 5th. There it is on the left side. Like, it's so precarious. His main and natural all but mined out. 3rd getting low. And in those situations, it takes, like, you know, 20 Zealots to run in there and just wreck a base. And the Zerg can win fights for days, but if they lose out on the base trade, Dark Templars start coming into play. You and I know that very well. Every Protoss does. It's so funny, the reputation I have, actually.
And now Jaedong just, he feels very comfortable right now. He's getting Vipers, he has Infestors, he's got Broodlords on the way. Yeah, sure, ShoWTimE is getting Tempest, but at the same time, from my perspective, if I'm ShoWTimE, this is a scary situation compared to a few minutes ago. Maxed army versus maxed army is a lot worse than being up 20-30 supply in PvZ.
Absolutely.
And he just doesn't have the bank. He loses his 4th base, and he's absolute broke. Jaedong sitting pretty on 2.6k, 900 gas. He keeps trading out these Zealots, but it's up against Spine Crawlers. He's just donating minerals at this point.
Killing that 4th ended up being a much bigger deal. Like, because he was also in the midst of trading out his units, he was spending his bank. So it's like, that's fine, I've got a 4th base, but if you don't have that 4th base, all of a sudden it's really bad. The other thing that's weird, too, is Jaedong didn't do anything super sneaky. He actually threw the Hydras and Lings right up the middle of the map. Yeah. They went through the tower, up the middle, into that 4th base. And because ShoWTimE was a little bit overly committed position-wise on the lower right-hand side, he was not able to get over there in time. So a little bit of a mistake. Jaedong equalizing in supply. We're getting up to that mega base situation. Void Ray is coming out to support those Tempests.
It's the right call. Against the Corruptors, it's going to help so much. It's just a question of, will it be enough at this point? I personally have a hard time microing Tempest versus Broodlords. They aren't the same Tempest we saw, you know, earlier in these earlier patches where they could, you know, takes 3 or 4 shots, you can kill a Broodlord. Now it takes a lot more and just super tanky. Is he going to push in? I feel like he needs to have this killer instinct and actually do damage. These Broodlords are way out of position.
They are, and it looks like he will. He's going to go down here.
He can always recall.
Yeah, but if he loses that, like if he gets abducted and he loses this chunk of army, it's so dangerous. I do agree with you, though. I mean, he's
just target it down, recall immediately.
Here they come.
And he's going to lose it.
Jaedong's going to go for it. Jaedong's going for it. He kills it.
But those Corruptors take a lot of damage. Loses what, like 6-7 Corruptors there?
Yeah,
half of them damage. Kills that 4th base. Did he kill it? Did he not kill that 4th base? Wow, he doesn't kill the 4th base.
It's a survivor, man.
Just leave one immortal. You don't want it anyways at this point.
Everybody counts.
Yeah,
You're coming home with me, boys.
It's like a lot of small mistakes, but they're adding up at this point, and Jaedong's just clawing his way back in the game. On the other side of the field, ShoWTimE is doing a great job. He is building up that
There's
bank
the
rate.
feedbacks.
Wow.
Nice.
Amazing feedbacks.
4 of 5 infestors gone, and to be honest, that's a huge deal.
Especially with the
there.
Vipers.
Yeah.
That combination is so deadly. Vipers with the Blinding Cloud, the Infestors locking down the army so it can't move, and you're just stuck and you can't shoot. There's Immortals, Stalkers, even Archons, you know, being nullified in a lot of ways. This Oracle's going to get great vision. ShoWTimE's playing beautifully. I don't want to take it away from him.
In a lot of ways, yes.
He is playing the way you should play. He just didn't have that killer instinct I would have liked to see earlier, but his army composition's solid. He's got Tempest. He's got
to be
great
fair,
vision.
he had the killer instinct, but then he had the mercy instinct at the same time. He's like, you know what? I beat you up enough at that base. Gonna back off and leave it with 15 health.
I want to play a macro game against Jaedong. I want to, you know, I want to play that 50-minute game.
Yeah. It's not his forte. We're gonna have the big fight here, though.
Great Tempest
Mother
shot.
Support died earlier. Keep in mind, there's no recall out of here. A lot of storms going down. AoE from these Archons, trashing up new infestors there. But here come the Corruptors, and they're getting stormed down pretty hard. But I don't know if there's enough Void Rays. It's getting a little bit close. The Archons having a tough time getting underneath, and it looks like there is not going to be enough anti-air as those Corruptors surge forward. Stalkers being warped in, but that's just to shore this up.
Yeah, he doesn't really need anti-air at this point.
Fight, though.
Yeah, he doesn't need anti-air. Sure, the Tempests are going to die,
Yeah,
but the
he won the
Corruptors are
fight.
dead, Broodlords are dead, the Warpin helping so much. It's 168 supply versus 140, but Jaedong's making the switch. 9 Ultralas, 32 Zerglings on the way. He's going to sack a base, but can that resupply?
Look at
bust
ShoWTimE,
this
though.
fight?
2 Immortals behind this as well, and now Void Rays. If it was more Tempest, he'd be in a lot of trouble, but he says, I think you're going to tech switch. I know you're going to.
Perfect read.
And it's a good read. It's a gamble, though, because also keep in mind, Jaedong loves coming back with like 30 Mutalists. Think about 30 Mutalists in this game.
that would be a problem. But he's
Be a
getting
big problem.
he's getting Phoenix range, just in case.
I like ShoWTimE. I'm a fan.
Just in case.
As I say that, he's already ahead. This base is a little bit of trouble. Actually, only 1 pylon powering. He needs to kill that because the Warpin could reinforce pretty bad.
And in Brood War, this is what we would call cracklings.
Yes. You can still call them cracklings. They just don't have the same, like, fear.
Yeah.
They're like baby cracklings.
Yeah. These are like regular Zerglings in Brood War, basically. Still
Although,
scary.
in
Still
Legacy
scary.
of Void, they increase their damage from the Adrenal 20% more, I believe, or their attack rate. rather.
Jeez. Scary times, especially in the hands of a player such as Jaedong. He's going to get a free base, basically.
Look at that army, though, man.
It's
Jaedong can't engage that right now. He needs Blinding Cloud and Fungal Growth.
It's like he had enough High Templars before, and now he just morphed them, and it's the perfect composition.
Yeah.
He has 5 or 6 Immortals. He has a lot of Archons. He can poke at him, even. He's got the Oracle and Vision still. He's got Tempest. And I think he saw that army, and he said, you know what? I already have the perfect composition.
Yeah.
Why do I want to kill it and let him remax on something else? If he pushes into me with that many Ultralas,
Oh, they melt.
I'm going to absolutely crush it. There's no way he will win an engagement off creep.
There's one chance, Chris, and we see it coming in right now, is those Vipers. If they can get Blinding Cloud and Fungal Growth on top of the Immortals, and they just don't attack at all, they will melt. This army also needs Zerglings, by the way. Like, just Ultras by themselves are so cumbersome. It's really hard for them to get their own surface area.
And I think it's also the fact of the Queens.
Yeah.
Like, Jaedong cannot push across the map and attack this Nexus with Ultralis and with Queens. And that's what you need with Ultralis. Those are the units that keep them alive. If he takes an engagement on creep...
We could have it right here, Chris. This could be it. That's the last mining base for Jaedong. It's so important. So very low in health. He actually could just touch it with some Tempest, to be honest with you.
Yeah, just poke. He can just poke.
Great mines.
Like, if he pulls the Tempest, is it that big of a deal? You waste your pulls on the Tempest, you're not going to have Blinding Cloud.
Yeah.
And then you just push in with the Immortals, and it's a great engagement for you anyways.
And he doesn't really need the Tempest.
Yeah, he
to be
doesn't.
honest.
At this point, they're just going to tickle the Ultralis.
Yeah, doesn't care.
I would want to push almost right there. He wastes enough pulls, he's only going to have 1 or 2 Blinding Clouds. But, on the other hand, ShoWTimE, being a way better player than myself, he's doing a great job this game.
He's of the safer sort, too,
Yes.
though. Like, we see this time and time again. He was either going to win or lose this game off of his safe, patient play. And right now he's winning in a large manner.
Yeah, and now we're getting closer and closer to that maxed out army. But, unlike the last time, this composition, you know, Broodlord, Corruptor versus Tempest and Storm, depends on the matchup, depends on the micro, what happens. Mass Immortal Archon versus Ultralisk.
Here we go.
I love it every single time. Jaedong's getting a little antsy here. He knows he's in a bad position. He wants to take a scratch. But will he do it off creep? That's the scary part. You
Without
need
all
those
those
queens.
queens? Yeah,
you
man.
need those queens with the Ultralisk. There's nothing else that's going to keep him alive. And it looks like Jaedong wants to go for a little bit of a tech switch. He wants to add 5 more Corruptors, probably change them into Broodlords, just a little bit extra damage, give him a little poke. But all in all, this army composition is so good for ShoWTimE. Even those Void Rays, they're going to help against the Ultralisk and the Broodlords.
I'm really nervous. Like, ShoWTimE's been so patient. He's just circling around the outside, looking at the expansions of Jaedong. Jaedong's going to feed into that right here. But I'll tell you what, if ShoWTimE dives in and fights, that's his chance to lose this game. If he keeps defending forever and just establishes eventually a 6th base like he's trying on the right side, I don't see him losing this game. Jaedong is starved out. He can't get a 5th base. He's down to mining on only 1 base. His composition is fixed. Okay, add Broodlords.
He cannot
that's
trade
fine.
out. He can't trade out here and remax on anything. He doesn't have the money. He's not even maxed.
He's got $60, guys. I'm richer than Jaedong. Okay. That was supposed to be a more epic point than when I said, I'm like, you know what? That's good for
Just
you,
sell
Jeff.
yourself short there, yeah.
You've got gas for this weekend. All right. But Jaedong's still not able to find the money to max out. A nice fungal there, but again, not really that big of a deal.
I think he blinked in. He was just like, you know what? I want to see what you have. And then he sees there's a few Broodlords, same Ultralisk,
Tempest.
And you're looking at this from a Protoss perspective. You're saying the only scary part is maybe that it's a big army. But he's going to even kill this hatchery he forgot to kill earlier. And now it's 3-base Jaedong versus the 5-base Protoss in the German ShoWTimE, and he's getting his 6th.
0 mining base Jaedong, though.
Yes. And
he's going. He's got to go.
He doesn't have creep. He can't really contest this base. He's maybe
try.
Yeah, and he's got queens off creep. If he moves off creep, there's no retreating. Those queens are committed 100%, and that's what he's going to do. Like you said, there's no other option at this point. He needs to win an engagement, and he needs to win it big.
And look at that left side. There's some Zealots coming down there, too. This is going to be so annoying. And DTs, they're going to hit the long-distance mining drones, whatever.
And this is just going to force Jaedong even more.
He's more into an all-base, or all-in, excuse me. He's got to go.
He has to go. And this is gonna be the moment of truth for him, because this unit composition, there's a lot of potential, but it's going to be tough.
Nice play by ShoWTimE. Even backing up here, saying, hey, you want to fight down here, this otherwise meaningless base? If Jaedong takes his bait, his army's going to get annihilated going down into this concave. And he is. He's taking the bait.
Yeah, look at the supply already.
Fight here.
135 to 192. The fight hasn't even begun. Ultralisk already getting poked down. ShoWTimE is so patient.
Yeah, he's going to back up. He's like, well, that was a terrible idea.
Look at this patience from him.
Yeah.
He's so far ahead, but he knows he has this game in the bag. Ultralisk are going to take on these cannons, and he's just tanking damage non-stop.
Ultralisk melt almost instantly. He tugs forward those Tempests, but there's almost nothing to kill him except for the Queens. And the trap has been sprung. ShoWTimE snaps forward. He wants us to go to game number 3. There's the feedbacks from the mostly energy-based army. Jaedong has no chance. ShoWTimE with the win. And that was masterfully done. You know, again, we were critical of a couple of them, like, oh, attack here, kill, but
it's easy for us to say, especially with Infestors. Infestors, you know, if he had his Mothership Core, I think he would have pushed in.
Okay.
But he did not have his Mothership Core, so he was a little hesitant. But look, super calm. Look at that deep breath in. I love Ziwata.
That was about to turn into like a shampoo commercial for us. He's got this beautiful curly brown hair.
Okay.
Or a water bottle.
Yeah, whatever.
Like Aquafina.
And we see that push here. This is the moment where he definitely could have committed, but the Infestors are such a big X factor. He wins this engagement so huge. Storm's just laying down. The Hydra's moving into his army.
This is where it gets scary, though. He got fungled all over the place, and he was like, oh gosh, my army's kind of melted.
Yeah,
Let's
and
get
now
out of
he
here.
doesn't have his Mothership Core. Like, if he has his Mothership Core, if it gets too sketchy, he just recalls. But here, he knows, okay, there's at least 4 or 5 Infestors with energy, and all of a sudden, you know, if 10 Hydras come out, I'm just going to lose every single Zealot. And that's all he had. He only had Zealots left over.
I'll tell you, Huck, though, it's been so fun to watch him, he'll take these fights and then anticipate after diligent scouting, by the way, and just good logic, the tech switch of Jaedong and be prepared for it each time. And then you saw the game plan formulate too, where he's like, you know what? You mined out your 3 bases, your 4th base is on like 2 mineral patches. I actually don't have to attack you. I just have to make sure you don't expand, which means I'm not fighting on creep, I'm not dealing with those queens. Really well done. And this is, of course, the big fight.
Yeah, so what Jaedong is trying to accomplish here is he wants to bait out the Storms and then attack with the Corruptors, but he just saves the Storms. He knows that he needs to get those Corruptors downhill. He needs to target them with the Storms, and he just waits very patiently. That has been the #1 highlight I could say about ShoWTimE, is that he seems so patient. He knows exactly what he needs to do in every situation. Sure, he plays a little too cautious for my liking, but I'm just a 4-gate all-in Protoss, you know? And he played this beautifully, to be honest. That was an engagement that went heavily in his favor, as you can see from the supplies.
Yeah.
He's up 30 supply, and he has this beautiful unit composition still left over. 3 Immortals, 2 Archons.
Fooled me for, I mean, while I was calling, I was like, I think Jaedong's going to pull ahead, but then you notice it's only 3 Broodlords dealing any damage to those ground forces. And while
it's just not enough.
The Corruptors like hung around for a second, but when those stalkers came in and the Archons were able to make their way to the front lines, because of all the storms thinning out their life, they all disappeared in the same 2 seconds, basically.
But for the third map, we are going to go into Terraform, and this is probably the craziest map maybe we saw today. There's a lot of weird things that can happen on this map. It looks very spirally, is that even a word? But the gold bases, that is the key. I don't see Jaedong abusing the gold bases too much, to be honest.
You kidding me?
On this map, it's a lot more all-in than for, say, what was that last map? Oh my gosh.
What's happening?
All right, let's introduce the players. In the bottom right, it is the German Protoss, ShoWTimE.
Laying it on the line, and he's going to do it against a guy who's also looking to cheese, the Jaedong. This probe is making its way to the top right-hand side. Yes, that's his face. Look at the game. It's an in-base proxy gateway strategy against a Zerg that is 9 pooling. Both these guys got into Game 3, reached into their bags of Cheez-Its, and came up with grips of fried cheese.
And I just want to say, I don't know if I could say this, but the cojones on these guys.
Both of them.
The last match.
The stage is tilting with it.
Literally the last match. And you're going through, and they both say, yeah, you know what? Nah, we'll just risk it all. Let's just do something crazy. I couldn't do this. This, you know, we're talking about how safe, how conservative ShoWTimE is. And he's like, yeah, you know what? Double proxy gate, PvZ, no problem. I'm going to do it in base. Who does this favor?
I have no freaking idea, man.
I've never been in this situation before.
So these Zerglings are going to go across the map. They're going to tear up the middle line.
They're going to kill the probes, most likely.
The Protoss is going to wait, I would guess. He's going to make 2 Zealots. They'll come out and then wait for 4.
I think on this map, in that mineral line of the Protoss base, you can actually trade pretty well.
Yeah.
With probes.
He's not building Queen yet, though.
You have this little nook that you can just hide the probes in, and they can actually trade very, very well. Oh, is Jaedong going to go for a hatchery?
And a gold base. So this is where I say I think it favors Jaedong, to be honest.
Yeah, because he can just retreat and buy time.
And look at that rally point. I do think he's going to wait. But no Queen yet. That's actually a saving grace so far for our Protoss player.
This is going to be really tough. Really tough for ShoWTimE, I feel. And he's waiting.
Yeah. No, he's going for it. Never mind. Dives out. Jaedong right now... I wish I could... I mean, I don't know what the look on his face is.
They're probably like, really?
They're
really,
both
man?
like, oh my god, what's happening? Who wins from here?
Jaedong just evacuates. He says, you know what? I have a gold base. I'll just go retreat to that. And this is the nook I'm talking about. He can trade actually very well against these Zerglings. They do a good amount of damage. They're all huddled up. In the meantime, Zerglings cannot trade against... Or drones cannot trade against Zealots. The DPS from one Zealot is a lot higher than the 5 damage of one Zergling.
But that's it. The base is dislodged. Spawning pool is about to die. Jaedong's down to 34 minerals, so we're not going to see more production off of that. He is going to be at the gold base, though. And he's going to chase back these probes because he says you're going to have an army is what it's going to be. You're going to have that army right there. Yes. You're not rebuilding the Nexus. You're not getting a Stalker Mothership Core out. It's going to be those probes and Zealots.
Supply-wise, it's definitely in ShoWTimE's favor. It's going to be, can he get to that hatchery, basically. I think Jaedong's going to want to try to hold him back. He wants him to come back and defend these gateways.
Yeah,
he's saying, you know what? Do not go looking for anything. Does ShoWTimE recognize it? I don't think he knows. If he knew, he would have scouted with those probes. He would have checked and saw. Because right now...
He knows now.
Yeah, this is just a situation you don't find yourself in. We didn't even know who had the advantage in this. It's not something that happened. He knows now. He's sending one probe. He's saying, you know what? You have something. You're not telling me something here. And he sees, he knows immediately. And this is where it's crunch time. He needs to go for it.
Jaedong has only really the chance to eliminate him before he gets eliminated. And the Zerglings are going to try to circle around.
He's got 75 minerals too. He can build an assimilator right next to that hatchery. This is so good for ShoWTimE as long as he gets the engagement that he wants. He can eliminate him right here. Jaedong has to take an engagement.
He's going to go build another gas somewhere.
Jaedong
has to build a gas.
Yeah,
he built a hatch.
He built another.
That's even worse because he's got to go find that. And ShoWTimE's coming back. He leaves a probe behind.
I don't think he
realized... The drones go back to mining. This is the wrong choice. He had to split up his forces.
I don't think he realizes that he can make an assimilator. He thinks he's going to get eliminated.
Oh, the Protoss, you mean?
Yes.
ShoWTimE. Yeah, okay. But with that other... I mean, so here's the... Yeah, you're right. So now he does split the force, but some Zerglings actually catch the Zealots out there.
This is so bad for ShoWTimE. If he committed there, he was in such good position.
And he wins the fight, does Jaedong in the middle of the map, by the way. Those Zealots dying is a big, big deal. These Zerglings are inconsequential. Oh no, actually that one Zealot did win, but I think the drones can win the fight over there. Jaedong's just got to get out of here. He's got the split. He's got another hatchery over there that's maybe never going to be found.
Building drones at this point is good enough, to be honest. I don't even know if you would go for the spawning pool. I feel like it's such a big investment if you just pump out drones this close of a battle.
This is not... Okay, So once again, ShoWTimE leaves nothing behind. The Zerglings are circling back around, and they're going to go into the base. And
Does he realize that he can actually make an assimilator? Like,
he
I
has
feel
to
like
know. He has to know.
if you know you can make an assimilator, just commit. Don't have commitment issues. Why do this, ShoWTimE? You had the game. Is Jaedong not actually gonna? He wants the broodlings.
Yeah, he makes more Zerglings, and he makes more Zerglings with that.
Yes.
The second it finishes.
He's actually trying to engage that Zealot with the drones once the broodlings come out, but
Such smart play though. These 6 Zerglings and the drones should be able to take this on, especially when they pop out here.
yeah, the Zerglings
And they just
coming
want
back.
space, and these other ones will win the race back home. So here they go.
And he's trying to surround the Zerglings. That's what he was trying to do with the probes there. They're going to trade decently. If the drones come back and take this engagement, he will win it. ShoWTimE's in a really bad position right now. He needs to come off with some great micro.
Oh, good hold position.
Yeah, good hold position. Those Zerglings can't really get in. But now the two Zealots can be killed. He needs to group his army, but it's too late. There's another hatchery. He's mining. Jaedong has played this absolutely beautifully.
And the Broodlings are actually going to be a bit of a problem there as well. He's going up there. He's smiling. It's not over
He
yet,
knows.
though, Jaedong.
No, he knows. He knows this is
He
over.
can make another gas, though. A geyser. Yeah, he's definitely ahead. Don't get me wrong.
He's going to try to
look
run
around.
Oh.
A Zealot dies in the background of the Broodlings.
Oh, this is so painful. ShoWTimE, you had the game. Look at, he's jamming. He's listening to hip hop. He's like, yeah, I got this.
Yes,
Jaedong.
it's not over yet, though, man. And Stardust is traumatized. Does he have? Okay, good. He just built that gas in the last second. That's it, though. That's all his money. He can't even cancel that.
He's looking for the hatchery. He doesn't even know where it's up. Look, Jaedong just laughing to himself.
He's building another hatchery at the gold, too.
Wow. ShoWTimE sweating. Meanwhile,
ShoWTimE, you are, man, you got Jaedonged. You guys cheese each other, though. I've got no mercy here. You're both dirty players.
dirty boys. Need to wash your hair, ShoWTimE. That beautiful shampoo commercial.
Yeah, man, we could film that later, actually. Let's hold him afterwards. After he advances, if he beats Sen, because right now Jaedong's got to love his position. Probes, you don't got the damage for it. He thinks he might actually think, or he sees the other base. He has to.
No, I don't think he did.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
If he did, wouldn't he just leave at this point? He thinks it's like some semi-base trade, and he's trying to hold.
No,
oh,
yeah, he saw the creep. Okay, he saw the creep.
He's trying to hold the fort down, but it is all over. It is curtains. You have 4 probes mining on that assimilator, and it is not going to help you at all.
Careful, Jaedong.
Yeah, if he loses the fight,
Why are you fighting here at all? Like,
literally move your Zerglings and lose every single one, and then you might still have a shot with 11
the problem
drones.
is, the problem for our German Protoss is he's got 2 Zealots. There's no splitting here. Probes by themselves die, obviously. We saw the really cool hold micro with the Zealot at the other gold base, but now that he's down to 2 Zealots, like we've had several Zealots eked off.
There's no way he knows about that other hatchery. I don't think he realized the creep, because if he did,
knows, but he doesn't know.
I don't think he realized, because if he did, he knows that he has 11 drones. Realistically here, what are you hoping for?
This has been some of the most fun 11 minutes and 22 seconds of StarCraft.
Yeah, how has this game gone on so long?
Feels like an eternity.
Yes.
All
this is rough.
There's actually a drone down here.
Okay,
GG's called out. ShoWTimE has had enough of the tomfoolery. Jaedong will advance, going 4-1 in map score, 2-0 in match score, and that's the result we were looking for. You talk about Jaedong needing a big result to get those WCS points to have a chance to play in December.
He's got to go.
Or
He's got to
November.
go a lot
Excuse
further.
me, November.
Yeah.
I know where BlizzCon is. Anyways, he did it. He's going to be advancing. We'll see him in Poland. This guy right here, the young, the beautiful, the Protoss, he has to face Sen now for a chance.
But he's got to feel confident. After that set, how well he played in Game 2 especially, I feel like going up against Sen, he's going to be very confident. Of course, we wish the best for Jaedong. He played great, but he's going to have a long road ahead of him. Like I said, he has to get, realistically, first, second, maybe?
This is just the beginning. We were talking about that. Like, this is nice, and he can rest his hat on that. Go home, Jaedong. Start practicing. Get to work, because it's not even the round of 16 that you have to be targeting. Like Huck said earlier, it's like top 3 for a chance at BlizzCon.
And then other tournaments as well. But we're going to be getting into that next match after we have an interview with Jaedong that's just standing by. ShoWTimE, all in all,
he played well.
He played well, and I feel like he's probably the favorite against Sen. Sen, of course, being a great player, and I feel like Sen gets better as the day goes on. You know, he kind of adjusts, gets into his normal rhythm. He isn't a guy that practices a lot before a match, but it's going to be tough either way, especially since Sen has so much to study now. You know, he's seen a lot of games of ShoWTimE. He knows that he doesn't really go for, as you said,
played him
Oracle.
and watched the whole series.
Yeah, he doesn't go for
games.
Oracle. He doesn't go for DT. Nothing too crazy. He plays very standard, quick third bases, then just goes for charge or blink.
Yep, absolutely. So without further ado, let's hear from the man himself, Evil Genius's Jaedong, with the boys.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Of course, some grins there on the casting desk as we see Jaedong joining us here for his winner's interview, going forward in first seed, and as the fashion, most people would have expected him to leave in Group C. Congratulations are in order. And Rotterdam, I mean, fun game number 3. Let's start with that one.
Yeah, I think the entire series was quite fun. And I think most people at home, if you watch a series like that, it just had a little bit of everything. It had a long game, short game, so awesome. But there's one thing I really want to ask Jaedong, because in general, he always has the same facial expression whenever he's playing. But when Gong Fu Panda cheesed him in Season 2, he started smiling a lot. And now again, in the final moments of a crazy cheese game like this, again, you see him really, he's kind of like lightening up and he's singing. So what's so special about these weird scenarios?
I guess he go first Nexus, but last season same happened, and this time again. So this time more fun. Why only 2 gate proxy for me?
Does it make you smile because you're just like, do you think it's silly, or are you just like, not again? I mean, what are you thinking?
I thought I win this game because I know he don't have money.
Yeah.
So yeah, just
Does it
enjoy the game.
It feels extra good to win games like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're rocking your head, feeling really good. We see you smiling here. I mean, yeah, very special way to finish your group. Of course, you're in the round of 32. Now, let's talk overall, though. The question has always been, and I think in some ways very important this season, because you need to go really high to even have a chance at BlizzCon. Does that add any extra pressure, or how are you feeling overall?
Yeah, I know I have to good this season. So I think I have to go to final. Probably I can go.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Are you feeling like pretty confident this season? Do you feel like you're in form?
Yeah, because I really want to go to BlizzCon, but I don't have a point enough. So I practice a lot after this. So
Would you say you're doing pretty good overall right now? Are you happy with the level that you're playing at?
not really. Maybe some more. Yeah, need more prepare for.
Right on. I mean,
Final.
well, you'll have time for that, of course, now, a little bit of time before the round of 16. Now, I want to ask, because in Group A and B, we had Polt and Hydra, and they both think, like, I'm the best in WCS. They kind of have a rivalry, but Hydra thinks Polt not as good. I'm the best. What do you think about those two?
I think I'm the best too.
All right. Well, I mean, hey, maybe we'll get to see you guys play each other in the round of 16. It would be very exciting. Well, once again, congratulations, Jaedong, moving on in first seed here in Group C, as many people would have expected. A little bit of a bump on the way, but right now what matters more is what's coming up next. Jaedong sitting here comfortably with his win, but 2 people still have to play to see if they can join him in the round of 16. When we take this break, when we come back, it's going to be Sen versus ShoWTimE.